Hi there, everyone. Father John here, coming to you from my office at St. Pat's in West Park. And certainly today, May 12th, is a very special day for myself and my three classmates, Father Mike Dink, Father Joe Previtt, and Father H. Paul Camus. Today, 13 years ago, we were ordained as priests by Bishop Lennon downtown in the Cathedral of St. John the Evangelist. So certainly it has been a joy to be a priest for these past 13 years. And to Mike, Joe, and H. Paul, certainly a happy and blessed anniversary. Now, this journey has been one filled with many joys, many great moments, many struggles and challenges, growth moments, things I've learned about myself and about my relationship with God. And especially this past year, as I've learned what it means to be pastor, and I've learned how to pastor two different parish communities. It's been a great joy, a great blessing, and sometimes a challenge, but a good challenge over these past years. And so certainly thank you to all of you who have been a part of this journey. It has been, over the past few months, definitely, I think so many of us could say, an interesting journey, not just for you, but for me as a priest, to not be able to minister publicly with so many of you like we've been used to. And so as we anticipate returning to the celebration of public Mass on May 25th for weekdays and May 30th and 31st for weekends, obviously we know when we come back from Mass, it's going to be a little bit different than we're used to. There are going to be some changes to the way we do things to help keep us safe and healthy as much as possible. So what I wanted to do today is take a brief moment in this video to talk about some of the different changes that you're going to see and experience when you come to Mass. And then what I've been doing is working with the parish leaders at both parishes, our sacristans, lectors, Eucharistic minister coordinators, our extraordinary minister of Holy Communion coordinators, I should say, and just going through some of the different things. And we are going to mock up work on putting these things into place at both churches. And once they're in place, I'm going to create another video where I walk through at St. Vincent de Paul, or I walk through at St. Patrick's, and share with you, it's live, some of the different changes so you can see them and know what to expect when you come to Mass. But certainly I say come to Mass, but for many, you may not feel comfortable with that just yet. You may be a little hesitant to come back into the church building or to come out in public. You may want to stay home, whether you're at a high-risk group or something like that. And certainly please know that that is certainly understandable. And for those who do not feel comfortable yet coming back out into public, for those who find themselves at high risk or interact with high-risk people, or those who, like I said, simply do not feel comfortable yet coming in big public settings, please know that the obligation to attend Mass is still not there. If you don't attend Mass, you're not committing a mortal sin. Certainly, please feel free to stay home. Please feel free to do what you think is best for your health and your own safety. We are going to, at both parishes, continue to live stream the Mass on Facebook like we've been doing, sharing the different Masses. I'm going to continue to do some of the night prayers like I've been doing. Certainly one thing we probably won't be able to do is on Wednesdays or Fridays or Saturdays where there's two Masses at pretty much the same time at both parish. We are probably not going to be able to live stream both of those. But we will have at least one Mass a day from each parish. So you can certainly continue to do that, continue to pray that way if you do not feel comfortable coming. But for those who do come, you'll notice some changes. Certainly one of the things is the social distancing. So we are going to be blocking off certain pews. On one side, people are going to be invited to sit in the every other pew, the odd pews, not the odd number of pews, so the first pew, the third pew, fifth pew. On the other side of the church, you're going to be, the even number of pews are going to be open for seating, so the second, the fourth, the sixth. Again, the pews will be marked off, so you won't have to remember and figure out, wait, is this the odd side or the even side? It will be marked off, and we will also sort of indicate with the sign on each pew, like how many people should be seated. We want to maintain the 6-foot distance, even sitting in the pews. Now, husbands and wives, families, you can sit close together, those who have been together in this time. But we ask to maintain a 6-foot distance between, non-household members. So we'll have, maybe we might limit like 5 people in a pew or something like that. Again, we have to measure that out, see how many people we can put, but either pews will be blocked off where we ask no one to sit so we can maintain space in between people, or we will have numbers indicating how many people can be in each pew. There will be hand sanitizer at the doors of the church for you to use as you come into Mass. Certainly, please take advantage of that. They're asking us to try to limit to maybe 50% capacity of the church to be, allowed in at a time. So we're going to see how this goes. I don't know if we will necessarily have a need for really closely monitoring that, but we will look at that. We will continue to see how these first weeks go. And certainly one other thing is you come to Mass, we're asking the faithful to wear masks. That is a diocesan policy, not my personal policy, not St. Pat's or St. Vincent de Paul Society, that especially since you are in so close contact with each other. I know many may not like to, may not prefer to wear masks, and that is one thing, but we are in so close contact with each other, and in coming together as the body of Christ, we have that responsibility to care for one another, to maybe sometimes set aside our own needs, our own wants, and do what's best for the larger good, and so the common good. And so we are asking the faithful to wear masks when they come to Mass, when you're in the church building, to help protect each other. We are looking into getting some disposable masks that we can have at the doors of the church. Speaking of the doors of the church, at both parishes for the time being, we're only going to open the two side entrances. So the main back doors of the church are going to remain locked. We will put signs up for people who might not see this video or might not remember that, to come in the side doors. And that will help us to maintain a greater flow, and we can put the masks there. Also at the doors of the church will be collection baskets. One of the policies, one of the things that they're asking us to do is to avoid going through the pews and taking the collection, or the ushers getting too close to people. So we're going to leave baskets at the doors of the church. They're going to be monitored. We're not just going to leave them there. There's going to be someone watching the basket, making sure nothing happens to it. But when you come into church, please stick your envelope in there. There won't be ushers passing baskets going through the pews like we've been used to, at least for a little bit. Ministers to the homebound. Certainly we have many people who take communion to family members who are homebound. Right now, I think nursing homes and places like that, people are not going to be taking communion to. But for those who may come to public Mass and may be taking communion to a homebound sibling or a homebound spouse or somebody like that, what we are going to do is you're going to come into the sacristy or into the spot by the sacristy. We'll have a sacristan there. And you're going to just let them know, I need one, I need two, whatever it might be. They're going to, with a gloved hand, put the host in the pyx, and we're going to shut it. And instead of, like I've been doing before, instead of calling you up at the end of Mass before the final blessing, and you come up, and taking your pyx, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave the pyxes on the altar. And after Mass, after I process out, we're going to ask one minister at a time. No particular order, just, we're not going to have a formal procedure for this, just you can do it amongst yourselves, one minister at a time. For those who are taking communion to the homebound, come up and take your pyx. Confessions too, we're going to be offering confessions, but we are not going to be using the regular confessionals of both parishes, just a little too small to maintain 6-foot distance. So we are looking at possibly using the sacristy at each parish to maintain, we can shut the doors and maintain anonymity and confidentiality and things like that. And we are looking at getting portable room dividers that can easily be put back and forth to use as a screen. We might have those by the time we come back. We may not. So at first we may have just face-to-face, but we are working on getting the screens. And again, we may have them by then. I don't know for sure, but we're working on that, see what we can do there to give a little bit bigger space for the sacrament of confession, so that both you and I can maintain the 6-foot distance and still celebrate that great sacrament. I would ask, especially when you come to confession, if at all possible, to wear a mask, and I'll be wearing one as well, just to maintain that safety. When you come to church too, the doors, like I said earlier, that we're just going to use the side doors. We're going to prop them open before and after Mass, or somebody is going to hold them open to avoid many different people touching the door handles and things like that. Especially the first few weeks, we're going to have ushers or people, staff, different parish representatives around to help people figure out what's going on and where to sit, things like that. Between Masses, the pews and the different restroom doors and things like that are going to be wiped down and sanitized. I've been talking with both of our cleaning people about looking into doing that. We may be recruiting some help, especially I'm thinking on Tuesday nights at St. Patrick's, because we have the Tuesday evening Mass at 7 p.m. and then Wednesday morning 7:30 a.m. Mass. So we will be in touch about that, but we need to sanitize the church in between each Mass. We are taking out the hymnals and the missalettes from the pews, so we will not be, going through like the number, our opening song is number 6, 3 through 5 or whatever it might be. There's just kind of hard to sanitize those between each Mass and different people touching them. Certainly, if you want to have a physical copy of the readings, for those who find that beneficial because of hearing or something like that, you can print out a copy and bring it home. Or bring it from home. Please take it home with you. Don't just leave it in the pew. We are looking at the possibilities of printing some of the hymns, maybe even just the words in the bulletin each week, at least for the time being. Again, I'm not quite sure how that's all going to work. We may do that. We may not do that. But it will be probably try to use at least some songs that are easy enough where you may not be able to sing the verses, but there may be a common refrain that we all know that we can sing together. So that is a work in progress. The holy water fonts are going to continue to remain empty for the time being. If you do want holy water, if you for your own use at home, certainly we can accommodate that. We ask is bring your own container and bring water, and what I can do is after Mass bless that for you. But we won't have maybe a common thing of holy water in the church for people to take from and to bless themselves with. We are going to, on the floor of the church, put marks for a 6-foot distance for communion. I'll explain how we're going to do communion in just a second. But we're going to have tape marks on the floor, so pay attention. You'll see those, like you're maybe seeing at Target or Home Depot, some of the different things marking where people should stand. We are not going to use servers for the time being. Just easier. I'm going to continue to do Mass like I've been doing it for those who have been seeing me do it live streamed. I'm going to have the video, I'm going to do it on video, yes, but I have the table with all the different vessels and things that I'll need next to me at the altar. And at least for the time being, at least through June at this point, not use servers at Mass, whether youth or adults, in order to just keep just me touching everything and not be in too close contact with anyone else. Even at St. Vincent de Paul, Deacon Ken and I, for those who've been watching on the live stream, you've noticed how we've been a little separate. He's been sitting a little bit about 6 feet behind me. We're going to continue to do that even when we return to public Mass. And we are also, I'm discussing with both parishes about using lectors. We are not going to use lectors at St. Vincent de Paul for the time being. Deacon Ken is going to be at every Mass, and so he is going to do the first 2 readings, and I am going to do the Gospel. At St. Patrick's, I have a conversation later on today with our lector coordinator there about what we are going to do there. We are probably going to maybe make copies of the readings in order to, one for each Mass, to prevent multiple people touching the lectionary at one time. And we will be sanitizing the microphone between each Mass. As I said earlier, no offertory collection. Just leave the baskets at the doors of the church with people watching them, and you can stick your envelopes in. And we will continue to admit the sign of peace at St. Vincent's. One of the things, having Deacon Ken, our permanent deacon there, is you will notice he will not be maybe doing some of the different roles and preparing the chalice like he has been doing. I will do all that just to avoid too many people touching the different things, and also he will not be receiving from the chalice. Normally both he and I will. For the time being, only I will receive from the chalice. And communion is going to be distributed a little bit differently at both parishes. We are not going to use Extraordinary Mistress of Holy Communion for the time being. Only I am going to distribute communion, or Father Klein, or Deacon Ken at St. Patrick's. Deacon Ken at St. Vincent. So at St. Vincent's, what's going to happen is I'm going to take the front, and Deacon Ken is going to take the back, or we may switch. So it may be me in the back, Deacon Ken in the front. At St. Patrick's, it's only going to be me. And I will go over this when we actually go to Mass again. We're going to do one side at a time. So rather than 2 lines coming up, we're going to start with the left side, and everybody on the left side come up, and then everybody on the right side, in order that we can maintain the 6-foot distance. And again, we're going to have tape marks on the floor so you can see where to stand. We're not going to lay it all the way back, but at least some sort of distance. For communion, I would ask that you receive in the hand, if at all possible. For those who insist on receiving on the tongue, we ask that you wait until the very end. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a bottle of Purell on a table next to myself and Deacon Ken. And if you wish to receive on the tongue in between each communicant, or even those who receive on the hand, if we feel like we touched your hand, we may put the bowl, the ciborium down, put some Purell on our hands, and can come back, resume distributing communion. But certainly for sanitary reasons, I'm going to try at all possible, and Deacon Ken and Father Klein and myself, to put the host and sort of drop it, not drop it from way far up, but drop it from far enough where we can avoid contact, hand to hand, skin to skin contact. So certainly try to do that. Like I said, maybe just a little bit above your hand, drop it so we can distribute in a safe way. After Mass, obviously I'll still be greeting people, saying hi to you, but I'm going to do it from about 6 feet away, so certainly we won't be shaking hands, hugging, things like that. Ushers, we're looking at how to do that. We're probably going to just leave the bulletins on a table near the doors of the church rather than having the ushers distribute the bulletins, because again, kind of hard for them at 6 feet away to distribute the bulletins. For the time being, I think we're not going to have any coffee and donuts, and also unfortunately, we're going to cancel both parish picnics for this year. We'd look at the possibility of maybe doing something in the fall. Not too definite on that yet. Have to sit down and talk with the different leaders of those and see what their thoughts are. So those are just some things, highlights, some different things that you're going to see when you come to Mass. Certainly maybe one of the biggest changes is the wearing of masks, but the 6 foot distance and the lack of hymnals. But again, what I'm going to do is our parish leaders of both parishes are working on, our sacristans, our people who help clean the church, are working on starting to create a mock-up of what that's going to look like in church, and starting to block off the pews and starting to take the hymnals out of the pews. And once that is done, at least for a little bit where I can give you an idea of what it's going to look like, I'll create another video, little walkthrough at St. Vincent de Paul, little walkthrough at St. Patrick's, and show you what that looks like so you can expect it. And the first week or so that we're there, I'm going to do a little catechesis before Mass and come out and talk about some of the different things too before the celebration of Mass actually begins. So again, thank you for your prayers, your support during this challenging time, and certainly your prayers and support over these past 13 years. And let's be patient with each other. We don't need to turn into the coronavirus police yelling at people for not following specific rules, but please, let's do our best, even if the rules, the policies, the guidelines we may not agree with or we may not prefer, that it is not all about us, but is about the body of Christ and doing what is good for all. And again, some of this, as we see it in practice, it may change. It may be fluid as time goes on. So we will see how this goes. But God bless. Have a great day. And look forward to seeing you again in person soon. Take care.